So again, hi everyone. I'm glad to be here for the special Bring Your Child to Work Day edition of AOL Build. Yeah! Thank you, Suzanne Lindberg. So first, can you tell us how you first developed your relationship with dogs?
Well, this is kind of a dog show story, but I never had a dog growing up. I never had a dog when I was a kid. And when I was in college, I moved into my own house, and my girlfriend said, let's get a dog. I said, well, oh, okay. You know, guys that age will do anything for their girls. And I said, what kind? She said, how about an Afghan hound? How many of you know what an Afghan hound is? Big dogs, long hair? I had no idea. So we got the dog, and 3 weeks later, the girl left, and the dog stayed, and it was the best thing that could have happened to any of us. So that's how I got involved with dogs and took me into the dog show world.
So what exactly is a therapy dog?
Well, therapy dogs actually are dogs that team with a human, like me, and visit people in need, whether it's in healthcare facilities or we go to schools and visit children and talk to them about different things. But mostly we're visiting hospitals. Angel and Grace visit at the Ronald McDonald House, which you may or may not know is a kind of a home away from home for kids who are in New York City being treated for cancer. So you'll see a lot of these pictures that you'll see behind us are these dogs and other dogs visiting the kids at the Ronald McDonald House. But Grace and I, yesterday, we visited, as we do every Wednesday, at the VA hospital here in New York City. We've gone to Sloan Kettering for a lot of years and other places as well. So anywhere that people need something to maybe take their mind off what kind of a challenge they may be facing, whether it's a health issue or family of somebody who is facing that, that's what the dogs do. They, you know, when you felt it here today, when a dog comes into the room, the energy changes, right? And that's what they do with patients. They can generate smiles. They can get people to talk and get people maybe to step out of a stroller for the first time or out of a wheelchair. No miracles, kind of a miracle of the moment, but just to take people's minds off their challenges, and that's what we do. And the science of it is that, and we all know, anybody who has a dog, how many of you have your own dog at home? And you know that when you interact with your dog, you feel better. And we've all known that intuitively for a long time, but the science is starting to show us that the reason is that it lowers our blood pressure. Our blood pressure comes down, our heart rate slows, our respiratory rate slows, and we're getting a few more endorphins, the good hormones flowing. And it can't help but make you feel better, and that helps the healing process too. So we all do that. And when we're dealing with kids, we're dealing with families too. You know, when a child is sick, the parents are sick. And I think you all know that, if you're parents here today, that to have a parent say to you, that's the first time she smiled this week, or to have a physical therapist say to you, you just got him to do something that I've been trying to get him to do all week. It took you 10 minutes to get him to take a step or do something, some sort of an exercise that has been a challenge for all of them. So they can help in that respect. And a lot of times it's just with seniors. We can get them a lucid moment. The seniors will start talking to us when somebody has said to me as I'm going down to that room, oh, you don't worry if they don't react, because they're angry about being here. They're not happy. And we get them to talk about their own dogs, maybe from years past. And it really is a good thing for people. And sometimes I'll be visiting those people and get a great reaction out of them, and I'll look over and see the administrator that brought me in there or the nurse that brought me in there is in tears because they can't believe the reaction that we're getting too. So that's a long answer, but you know, that's what dogs do. They're great at it. They just can create this whole, they're spontaneous, you know. They live in the moment, and a lot of the patients that we deal with have to live in the moment too for what they're going through.
So what type of dogs make good therapy dogs? How do you know a certain dog is fit to be a therapy dog or not?
I like to say that good therapy dogs are born, not made, and our training process really is aimed more at the human part of the team than the dog. And the dog has to have the right temperament and personality, of course. They can't shy away from people. But some breeds, people ask me what breeds are better at it, and some breeds are good at it just intrinsically for what kind of personalities and temperaments they have, like Labs and Cavaliers and Brittany's for the most part. But really, it's not about the breed, it's about the dog, and it's about the person and the handler and how they've brought them along and trained them and let them do things. Angel loves the audience. She's really checking you guys out. She says, all right, well, who's got treats out there? Oh, did I say treat? So anyway, I think, it's a case of training you to train your dog and for you to have the kind of relationship with your dog that allows you to get it into the right place. I've been interviewed before, and they say, what are you thinking about when you're visiting with your dog? And I say, just stay out of their way. And it really is true. You keep your dog out of trouble. You don't want them stepping into somebody's sutures or getting tangled up in tubes and things like that. But for the most part, you let them do their thing.
So can you tell us about the Angel on a Leash program?
Sure. Angel on a Leash is a charity that I started with Westminster as really kind of a charitable activity for Westminster. And our first facility that we were involved with was the Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital of New York Presbyterian at Columbia. And we had great success there. We built a wonderful program. And then we added a couple of places. We added the Ronald McDonald House in New York City. We added Providence Medical Center in Portland, Oregon. And at that point in time, Westminster said, hey, this is more than we counted on. So we took it and made it its own independent 501c3 charity. And we're in about, I think, 10 or 12 different places around the country right now. And we train, our main deal is to help facilities create a program and then administer it. We help them find trained teams, and we help train those teams to come in. So it's an all-encompassing activity. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? Huh? I love you. Yes, I love you. Yes, good girl.
So what types of people would benefit from having a therapy dog with them?
Well, we visit people in a lot of different facilities, and sometimes it's just to help them get their mind off whatever their challenges that they're facing, whether it's the cancer patients that we visit at Sloan Kettering or at the Ronald McDonald House. And, they're away from home. They need to have something that gives them some sense of normalcy, maybe, and maybe they left their dog at home while they're here in New York to be treated, or wherever it is that we visit. So anybody that just needs a break in whatever they're going through, whether, you're tired of people walking into the room and sticking them with a needle or poking and prodding them and doing things, we come in with a dog and they greet the dog. They welcome the dog, and the dogs will get up into bed and lay down next to them. You'll see some pictures up here of some of the dogs with their heads on shoulders in bed and things like that. So it really is something special, and we can visit anybody and do just about anything if we're looking for people to have a change in their mood, a change in what they're having to go through every day, that we're something new and different from the routine.
So what can young people like myself do to help this organization?
Well, I think it's like what we're doing here, just coming together and finding out about our organization and think about the dogs and think about maybe you could volunteer with your own dog someday. Maybe you don't have a dog, but you could also help us by volunteering with our organization or with some of the places that we visit too. I think that's, anytime you're doing something for people in need, I've got the great blessing of being able to do it with my dogs, who really the dogs are doing it. I'm just their driver. I get them there, and I think that if you find a way to help people in need, it doesn't matter whether you're doing it with a dog or doing it on your own. I think there's a lot of people in need in this world. We're finding out, and Angel and Grace are helping me every day do that.
So does anyone in the audience have any questions for David?
There's Angel right there at New Alternatives for Children. This dog is James. He's a Springer. We were talking about Springers earlier with somebody, but there's Grace at the VA hospital. But there's a number of dogs in these pictures that are best in show winners at Westminster that they come with me and we visit different facilities and Ronald McDonald houses all around the country. So,
hello, I have a question. So the dogs are beautiful, of course. Angel on a Leash, it sounds like a magnificent program. And it seems that you focus on people with health concerns of like physical health and illness. And now I've seen in movies and TV shows where they have the canines visit prison inmates to try to help them deal with their challenges as well. Does Angels on a Leash get involved in that, or is there an adjunct program that does that, or is that just TV movie stuff?
No, it's actually in our mission statement that we could do that. We haven't really taken that on yet, but we're familiar with a number of organizations that get dogs into prisons, and it's for two reasons. Number one, the dogs help the prisoners, the people who are incarcerated, and help them kind of mellow out, if you will, but also it gives them something to care about and something to work on with having the dog in their care. But they also help train these dogs to become future service dogs or bomb detection dogs and things like that, and or therapy dogs. The thing about therapy dogs, unlike service dogs, therapy dogs work with a person to visit other people in need. Service dogs are dogs like guide dogs for the blind or mobility assistance dogs or seizure alert dogs that help that person, and that's the relationship, is that dog helping their human get through the day in a kind of a normal way. So yeah, the prisons, puppies in prison, there's a couple of other things a couple of other organizations that are great. Hey, Grace. Hey, Grace. I don't think she's going to go anywhere. If you get an orange and white dog coming down your road, just make sure she doesn't go out the door. Yeah,
what types of things do the dogs do at schools?
At schools? Angel and Grace have visited schools, and it's we visit at the Transfiguration School here in Chinatown, and we visit schools up in our neighborhood on the Upper East Side, and it's just basically interacting with kids. Sometimes it's part of what we call humane education, in that we teach children how to relate to dogs and how to, always ask the owner. We're bending the rules a little bit here by letting Grace wander through. Always ask the owner before you pet a dog. That was probably a good lesson for us here today. Say, may I pet your dog? And when you go to pet the dog, come up from underneath and start under the chin, and then pet them, work your way down the dog. And it's, these dogs may be friendly, but you don't know that the next dog of this same breed that looks exactly the same that you meet on the street might not have the same kind of personality and temperament. So you children and you adults, you can take that counsel too. It's okay. Yes?
What's your favorite story about a dog helping a person?
Well, I've been doing this for 12 years. I've got a lot of stories. Let me tell you one. Visiting at Mount Sinai, I visited, they would put us into the family therapy room, and I was visiting with a patient there, and I looked across the room, and there were two young men in high-back wheelchairs, and they appeared to be paraplegics. And they looked to be about 20 years old, and I surmised that they were brothers. They had what appeared to be their mother and father in front of them feeding them. And this was with my dog, Ty. And when we were done, one of the boys from across the room whistled at the dog to come over to visit him. And I looked at the mother and father and said, can we come and see you? And they said, sure. And she looked at her husband. I'm thinking maybe they didn't speak English. And the husband waves us over, and Ty comes over and looks up at the one kid who was whistling at him. And the kid whistles at him again, but he can't move anything. And Ty kind of cocks his head like all dogs do, and then rolled over without any urging from anybody. And the little boy, the young man, started laughing. And the mother and father started laughing too. And I'm thinking they probably haven't had much to laugh about for a while. I'm thinking maybe they were in an auto accident and had this terrible outcome. So now Ty goes over to the other young man who's sitting there and has a tray on his wheelchair. And he can't do anything except move one hand, one arm, and he takes his arm and goes like this. Choking up. And Ty, God love him, runs over and high-fives him. Boom. The kid's laughing. The other kid's laughing. Mom and Dad are crying. I'm crying. And it just was a great moment because I know those kids probably hadn't had a lot of good moments at that point. And I talk about the miracle of the moment, and that was the miracle of the moment for that. And we get a lot of stories like that where kids haven't had much to smile about or talk about. And we give them that chance. We give their parents that chance. We give their grandparents that chance if they're around. And we can extend that to just about anybody you can imagine in any setting, whether it's an adult or a child or a senior or a veteran, that suddenly they're getting to see things that, you know, they don't always get to see in the hospital. Yes, ma'am.
How high could the dogs jump?
You know, they've both been to obedience or to agility training. Angel can do a little flip for us. Angel, I'm talking to you. Come here. He says, okay, there's my roll over. Angel, can you do a flip for us? Can you do a flip? Well, that's not a flip. And Grace says, well, you're giving out treats. I'm coming back. Come here, Angel. Grace. They've got me trained. Give me a flip. Give me a flip. A flip. Atta girl. That's close enough. They're not athletic high jumpers, but they're like any other dog. They love to have fun. There you go. Good girls. Thank you for bringing me the bagel, because Daddy forgot treats today. Your ears on upside down. There you go. Here's some of the kids from the Ronald McDonald House. There's Bo with one of the children. There's Belle, my Brittany Bell, with one of the children from the house. There's Grace. There's Grace in a hospital bed. There's Angel with a cancer patient at Sloan Kettering. And there's Angel at NAC. Upside down, Angel. Where'd your sister go? That's James, who was best in show at Westminster a few years ago. All right, any other questions?
We have time for one more question.
Okay.
How old are the dogs?
Angel was 8 years old last week. And Grace is 5. She'll be 6 this summer. You'll see 2 other Brittany's in these pictures of my dogs Ty and Belle, who died 5 years ago when they were 13. But they had been visiting lots of places too. And Grace is actually, her grandfather is Belle's brother. There's Uno. There's Uno, the best in show beagle at Westminster from 2008. There's Grace with some of her buddies. There's Ty, the dog I was telling you the story about. And Uno again with 2 of the kids from the Ronald McDonald House. But these are the kinds of things that these dogs do. You can see all the smiles. You can see people, saying, geez, this is a lot better than having some doctor in here poking and prodding me. But the dogs really do bring that sense of normalcy back. A lot of the kids, especially that come to the Ronald McDonald House, are away from home, and maybe they've left their own dog at home, and so having a dog there for them to think about their own dog. There's Grace with all her nurses at the VA hospital, that picture. There's Angel. That's on the cover of my book. This is Springer. This is James. Best in show in 2006. There's a cartoon somebody drew of me with my dogs. It says, a little love changes everything. There's Angel on a Leash, our logo.
Well, thank you, David, for coming.
Okay,
and thank
Venus.
you, everyone, for joining us on AOL Build. Thank you.
Thank you.